I fall down, go boom boom, make bad bad. Luckily, not hurt. Well, good morning, Glue Troopers. Max of Max's Models here. And yes, I did fall down and go boom. A little bit more about that at the end of the video. So, still dealing a little bit with the Monogram, formerly Aurora A7 Corsair. And I found a website that I'm going to link below that compares a lot of the A7 models. And yes, Revell, well, Monogram and then later Revell, did repop the Aurora A7 as well as the F111, but they made a lot of changes. And one glue trooper sent me a comment that you can read in the comment section of the previous video that he had worked on the A7 in the Air Force and that the refueling probe was a Navy refueling probe. It was inaccurate, which is, of course, probably one of the reasons Monogram decided to put theirs in Navy markings. However, when I looked at this photo of the two sides, it appears that Aurora only left a pair of holes for the fuel probe to be mounted, which, assuming, and I hope I'm not giving them too much credit, but my guess is what they wanted to do was leave you with the option of making it Navy or Air Force, because they did not put the protective cover on the forward end, which Monogram, later Revell, did offer. Also, they cleaned up a lot of those overstated detail lines, but I believe that Aurora was probably just trying to leave you with the option of making it Air Force or Navy, and so all you had to do is putty up those two holes and you could make it Air Force. The Air Force refueling system was the system that was mounted on top of the fuselage on the left side. You can see this picture. Navy used the probe and drogue, which is that retractable probe that comes out, goes into a drogue basket, and the Air Force used the flying tail type that goes into the receptacle on top of the aircraft. So the Aurora kit did not, to my knowledge, offer you the option of that refueling hump on top for the receptacle, but at least it did leave you a relatively easy airplane to modify if you want to make the Air Force variant, which is a little odd that they put it in Air Force markings. I'm assuming they did that because maybe they thought the camouflage pattern would help sell more kits, just the box art. But either way, the differences are pretty noticeable. Also, the Revell version has one of the electronics pods on the upper tail, which you don't see on the early version. Now, here's a catch, though. Only the early Navy ones, I think the B models, had the twin guns, had a pair of, I believe, 20 millimeter cannons. These were single barrel guns, that one on each side. But all the later models had the M61 Gatling gun, both Navy and Air Force. So that was the predominant weapon system. However, even though it's painted in Air Force markings and could be converted somewhat to an Air Force aircraft, you would also have to make the original Aurora kit a Air Force A7. You would have to putty up the starboard side gun port and add both a M61 gun blister and a refueling receptacle on the top. So Aurora's not getting a lot of points here. You also have to probably add the electronics blister on the tail. It really, he's right. The Aurora really kind of dropped the ball on that one, but then Aurora was famous for that kind of stuff, so that doesn't really shock me. You could make a decent kit out of it, but it certainly was not very, very accurate. And of course, the detail lines, the panel lines are all way overstated. But the link is below for the article that shows a lot of difference. They also show the Hasegawa and the Hobby Boss kits, and apparently the Hasegawa kit, no shock, is the best of the lot. However, one quick little note though, if you were going to make the Aurora into the Air Force version, where the gun is mounted on the right, there is actually an small air intake. So if you just trimmed off the gun barrel and cleaned up that area, it could still double as that intake. Just a lot of little detail stuff that back in the 60s and early 70s, I don't think the companies were terribly worried about. Everyone was not as hyper detail focused as they are today. But I just thought that was something that you guys might appreciate, since I was getting comments on the mistakes that Aurora made on the Air Force version. And now for something completely different. Yesterday I did go to Hurricane Hobbies, and I was over on the other side of the parking lot looking at something, and my foot came down and the loop on the back of my sneaker went over an exposed piece of rebar. You could not do this on purpose. But of course, with all my mass, I kept going forward, and like an arrestor cable, it just grabbed that shoe and brought me to an immediate stop. I went rump over tea kettle. Fortunately, I went down on the mulch there in the garden, so I didn't hurt myself. I'm totally fine. In fact, more funny than anything else, as the fates would have it, one of the customers at the store is a trauma surgeon, so he was right there. You know, I was like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. So I got the quick once over. Anyway, the dangers of modeling. Don't trip going into the hobby shop. Well, guys, that's how yesterday went. I got a lot going on today, family in town and stuff, but maybe I'll get a little bit of model building done. I'd like to have my brother come in on a live stream with me. He's here visiting. You guys have heard him speak over the phone. We'll see if we have time for that. There's a family function tonight, so I can't really do a live stream tonight. But as I've told you guys, I am going to be working all the weekends, starting effective with this weekend. So we'll be moving the live stream time probably to Wednesdays or something like that, and we'll just announce them and do them as we can. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're enjoying your builds. You take care of yourselves, and as always, model on.